Hello guys and welcome to the channel. This is Babarol. In today's video we're gonna do another ranking tier list for the new elite specialization, but this time it's post beta, so we got to experience with them, see them, and have a feel for them in general and how they play and stuff. So I'm gonna be talking about the fun aspect, how much I enjoyed the class, why did I enjoy it, something like that. I was a bit hesitant to do this video at first, but I eventually decided actually maybe I should do it. It's fun to have this conversation, and I also like to read your comments and your own thoughts after I make the video too. So I want to start with my main, obviously the one I made videos about, which is Galeshot. So I was a bit harsh on the Galeshot in the last tier list. However, the last tier list was given points on the entire spec on every detail. Like I was given points, for example, on what you can play it for. If it's only be played power, that will make it lose some points, so it can't really be an S tier, for example, since Gillshot can only be played in power and it's only DPS. It cannot be played in support or anything. It's either a DPS or a quick DPS and that's it. There's nothing else you can do. So this time we are ranking only about the fun and the feel of the class. So Gillshot, it could be A, but let's put it in S for now. Why? It's very fun in the way it's designed. It is range. It have very fast pace when it skills. You don't feel stuck too long for casting skill. For example, skill 2, which is a smaller version of rapid fire for longbow, you don't stick to it too long in order to finish it like longbow. It finishes casting fast. Even the skills you can catch someone with, like skill 4 on the cycling bow, stuff like that. So it felt fun in how you use it. However, this fun was ruined a little bit with the way you get stuck down in some skills, like skill 5 on the longbow. Also, the elite was a terrible idea that it wrote you in place so you can cast it. In PvE, it was a bit fine, even so it was annoying, but in competitive, it was this little things was a bit terrible. It really ruins the feel of the class. But in the general idea, the fact you keep your 2 weapons, you can get in and out anytime. It also exists underwater. You can stick to range. You have 3 skills on the cycling bow that's not actually projectiles, so you can hit them no matter what the situation. It just feels fresh and fun. Even the sound, the fact you can cast skill behind you with Hawkeye, even like the whole thing felt quite fun. So that's why I'm putting it in S, even so it has some downsides with the skills, like the feel you get stuck a bit down, you don't feel you're able to move all the time, and like struggle with it a bit. I hope Arenanet will fix it and give us this level of mobility that was this class is aspiring for, but it's just very, very fun. So for right now, I will keep it in S tier. Now, another very decent class was Ritualist. I'm not sure which I should put Ritualist, S or A, but let's put it in A. Why? For competitive especially, Ritualist was very tanky, very survivable. It had the Shroud, unlike Harbinger. It can really tank for itself with the Shroud. It have really decent mobility with Shadow Step. It elevated the mobility of Necro like have never been before. Because you can move to other edges, higher ledges, stuff like that with Shadow Step, like a thief practically. It's not just movement or cutting distance, it is actually a board skill. So even with Harbinger mobility, that didn't exist unless you were using a Spectral Walk, which means you had to start there or using the Worm. So even if you use the same skills with Ritualist, it still have an extra advantage, which is the extra skill in Shroud 5. Also, to have some decent control, this ability of range, it's like it fixed what was wrong with core Necro, practically. The same way Galeshot fixed the problem with Longbow, in a way. So you can be a power range doing decent damage and spikes, like high burst and stuff. You have access to blocks, extra heals. It felt fresh, good, and adaptable. And you can take this tankiness with you into PvE. And in PvE, it's what lagged a little bit. You didn't feel you really want to stick this much to the Shroud in general. Obviously, I haven't experimented this much like Gillshot with any other class, but I am talking about the general feel, like the early attempts that I tried. So it's not like Reaper, for example, when you feel like really heavy in what you do and stuff like that. You want to keep getting the cycle of boon using spirits and then bursting them again and again. But you feel more rewarded sometimes when you get into weapon, depending on what the build you are using, more than you say in Shroud. At least that was the impression it left on me. So that's why I'm putting it in A. Even so, it's probably really good as Necro. It kept the tankiness of it, it gave it serious mobility, and with the buffs Arianet have made to Necro recently with staff for stability and stuff with transfusion Necromancer. The whole thing worked very well together. So it's an A for me. Now, Troubadour, I had high hopes for Troubadour, but trying it, it was less than expected. So Troubadour for me was really good as concept, especially that it can play in any form. You can play it in power, you can play it in condition, you can probably play it in support, and it can heal from condition depending on torment, but I didn't feel it can heal or be as tanky as I expected, especially that it's already lost the clones, so there is no redirecting mobs and NPCs away from you. It just they always focused on you, and every shatter skill have a cast time, so it had this slow flow in how you move from a skill to another. So it was decent, and you can make very tanky builds. Don't take me wrong, it is survivable, it have damage, it have everything, but it's not as good as I expected. So I don't know, probably for me, from the fun aspect, it's a B, since I don't really enjoy Mesmer to begin with this much, and I guess Mirage will always be my best Mesmer in my opinion, in a way. Now, the Evoker. So, I didn't have that much hopes up for the Evoker, especially that it's extremely overpowered in few aspects, and felt a little bit undertuned in another. For example, we talked in the last tier list video, give an example for this, at the idea of cleansing when you get to use the skill for the Outer. If you combine that with the trait that you cleanse on regeneration, it's like cleansing 10 conditions and in a very short cooldown. So it's insane. The elite is probably one of the best elites, if not the strongest elite skill in the game. It do all the things at the same time, at least that's how I understood it. Like I said, my time with other classes than Gillshot was very limited, so feel free to correct me. So like I said, it have very strong things that it can do, and then the others are not so much, like it doesn't feel balanced, and I'm not talking about numbers, it doesn't feel balanced like by design in a way. However, it's an elementalist, and I have to say I enjoy elementalist a little bit. It was one of the classes I dabbled with years ago, but I wasn't that impressed. I guess Tempest will always be my favorite in a way, so I'll put it in a B. It's just also the fact you keep filling with the weapon skills, the familiar you're using, and then use the familiar skill and again until it reaches this maximum form after 3 uses, and then you use it again. It just felt like it really need a long build up, like it's designed for longer fights in a way. Even in competitive, it felt this way. So it's either you can fight a fight that's very short or not really able to use all your cards in a way, or you really go into a long fight until you really build up access to skill. So the familiar didn't feel as useful sometimes, or now it's there so it can be very useful, stuff like that. So in both PvE and in competitive, it just it didn't feel this fun, I would say, as much as you would think. Now, Antiquary. So this is either C or D for me. So let's talk about the bright side first. I think the concept, it's funny, even seeing the scripts, and I love the scripts, honestly. But it have few downside, like the idea of randomizing things, even if you can fix it a bit with having traits that will always give you a defensive and an offensive skill, stuff like that. You can really limit the problems you have with playing this class. But there is a few little things, like the fact you always need to look at your bar to see what skill you stole, since it's extremely randomized. You don't always know what you're gonna get. Obviously, you're gonna remember them with time. If you play this class, you're gonna eventually know every shape and every color of them, and Arianet have coded them with different colors and stuff to make them very obvious. You don't need to read them, you don't need to look deeply into it, you'll know it immediately once you get used to the class. But you always really need to look to know what you got. Like even if you take the trait for that will give you one defensive and one offensive, and always use the offensive and hope it for the best. Like you don't even need to look what it is. It just feel too much work, I would say. And part of it being not fun, it's I do not like Thief. It's one of my least favorite classes at all in the game. So as you can notice, this as a very opinionated tier list. It's really my personal opinion. So I expect it to be better than this, and like I was excited a little bit about it, but except few little things and interesting animations that I like to see, like the shield with the barrier, stuff like that, it wasn't this fun. And the elite, I found the elite to be like very annoying, almost overwhelming. That you keep getting skills again, and you have to use them. It felt like a mini game more than actually playing a class. So I wasn't really enjoying this. I guess Spectre will always be the only Thief I was really interested in, and I still think if I would play Thief, I would play Spectre. It's the only fun thing because it reminds me of Necro, and Necro is one of my favorite classes. Now let's go with the Amalgam. This is obviously an S tier. Like we expected to be an S tier, it was an S tier, we tried, it's an S tier. It can be played in many forms. You can put or focus into range and melee. You can adapt to any combat. It has the tanking, the healing, the boon. And it feels really good to press some of those skills. It feels effective, like you land a single hit and it feels like it means something with it. So it feels really, really fresh. It changes the class insanely. Like it doesn't feel like any other engineer. It's something completely fresh, more than any other engineer have did. Probably Holosmith would get close to this. I guess engineer in general had some really good specs in how they work. If you're really interested in engineer, Holosmith was for quite some time my favorite power build to play until Untamed kind of came to the game. And other than that, Mechanist is amazing. The fact that you can play with a bit like that, it's really different from normal engineer. Scrubber, maybe not so much because it got only like extra button, but honestly, even so, you have things like Holosmith and Mechanist. I feel Amalgam like changed engineers the most comparing to any other specs that came for this class. So just solid on everything. It just very, very fun. Now Warrior is C, but honestly you could push it in B, but I don't really like Warrior. I only like Berserker in a way. I don't like Warrior as a class in general. So like if you notice, there are some classes here, like the problem is not just as big in my fun with it, it's just the class itself is not that fun. And this class felt a bit spammy, like there's always this have a very slow tempo that, like it's very different, obviously, if you played it, but it reminded me of Scourge, and I do not like Scourge. Like, it's my least favorite Necromancer, probably. It gives me a similar feeling. You have to use this and get those chants, or I can't remember what's name, and then you use a skill, now you have the echo. It just felt like a cycle of this thing. For a support class, I think this is probably my favorite form of support warrior. It's really focused on boon. It doesn't feel like, because it do boon, it can become a support. It's actually a support. So if you're really interested in this, I like the idea that it's actually a support, not simply it can be a support. I don't know how to explain it further than this, but this is how warrior feels to me. It's a class that's designed for DPS. It have a lot of CC, its own survivability or stability stuff. And since it can spread some boons, you can make it into a support build. Something like that, you can think of it like the Heal Untamed. Heal Untamed, well, Untamed is not designed to be an actual support, but you play it as support. You put things that work, while Druid is actually support. So it really depends on how you feel for the class. For example, I like Untamed and I can play it heal, and I don't mind it. I don't think that's a bad thing compared to Druid or anything, but I don't like Warrior. So for support side, I think the Paragon was fine with this, but like I said, I didn't have fun with this class. It just felt annoying to the point I didn't want to read all its skill or spend any time in it. Okay, let's get it even worse with the Conduit, and let's put it in D. It will be the only one. Honestly, with the way how much I hated Thief, it can go into D too, so I'm not sure. Let's be a bit kinder and put it in C like the others. Well, that's another class I do not like, which is Revenant. I don't like many classes, like they are not feel mine. Like I don't hate them, I don't think it's badly designed, I just don't enjoy them. The only thing I enjoyed about Revenant was Renegade, and honestly it's more like the short bow of the Renegade, more than anything. So Conduit felt like you keep getting stats and there is not much anything to do else. Like your skill is a little bit better. Pay attention to that. One skill or whatever, and the elite. That's it. And again, it just felt almost all about the stat. So, as someone who doesn't enjoy the class to begin with, this did not make me feel better. But honestly, one of the classes I hated the most in End of Dragon was Vindicator. I did not like this thing. It felt like too much swiping, like you switch between legends and then you switch inside the legend and then you switch your weapon. And I did not like this idea of playing at all. Like, I don't enjoy kits and engineers as much. Now you give me all aware, like everywhere kits. One on the right, one on the left, one. So I hated Vindicator in gameplay too. So Conduit did not fix it for me. Renegade is probably the most interest I ever had with Revenant. Now, for something a bit surprising, I didn't this thought like I would enjoy this much is Luminary. Luminary, I could put it in A, or honestly, I could put it in S for me. I know many people will be shocked to hear this. Okay, let me tell you, the moment I pressed the skill 4 in the Shroud, I was instantly sold on this class. I just liked it. The moment I just pressed this single skill on the entire class. The fact it had this feeling of mobility and freedom, and you can catch your enemies with immobilize. It's like you had many tools. And even so, you can play it only for power. Maybe you can make a build for condition, because a lot of the condition come with this class come from the passives. So you can put the traits for it, and you can use weapons that put condition. It's only the Shroud, maybe also the traits. So you can really make a hybrid or something like that, especially in PvE, with something also like a good advantage for Guardian. So I'm not sure how good it will be, but it felt like the Untamed of Guardian. Like a lot of people said, what's the point of reducing damage here, having block here, trying to be a tank, but it's not really a tank. This is the idea of having a class that's bruiser kind. So Untamed is good if you play DPS, or played quick DPS, or played condition, stuff like that. It can be played in anything, even support. Luminary have the same thing that Untamed have beside the choices. So the advantage that Untamed had, it's very tanky. You always have the extra stability. You always can give yourself heal from the Unleash Ambush. You can use the Elite that lower the damage insanely, can give you stability, stuff like that. You can do the same with Luminary. It's very tanky that it can lower the damage, give you extra heals, can have barriers, stuff like that, and even some unique advantages of the idea of putting layers of damage using the Light Aura, which is a really interesting mechanic that you can play with, especially in competitive, and do some serious burst with it. And even comparing it to something like Willbender, like the movement from Willbender, it feels very linear, like you can't really control it. It's forced. You have to move the whole distance and then adjust yourself. Like the F skills, while skill 4, for example, will get you to your opponent on the Shroud. So it felt more freedom, more bruisery, and that's amazing. You can play DPS, and it will always give the class enough damage to play in different forms. So this class is not going to be weak because it have a bit of tankiness or damage reduction. It's going to be strong, exactly like Untamed, to the point it can get you, if you want to play a power Guardian, why would you even play something else that would take hard damage or will struggle a little bit to survive? So Luminary is like an idea similar to the Untamed for Guardian, and that's why I loved it so much. It have some downsides for me, is that maybe I will take it to A. That would lower my interest in it, which is I don't like Guardian weapons. Like, I like the class, I like how it work, I like maybe some of its skills, but I have a feeling that I struggle a little bit, especially with range weapons. Especially if you want to play power. You have like the longbow, you can maybe twist some other weapons into playing power, like pistols, but it's not great. So you feel really... And longbow is longbow. Like, I hate longbow even with a ranger. Like, let me tell you a funny thing. The first class I reached level 80 in this game, made it to 80, and hated it so much to the point I deleted it. The first class I ever deleted in my account, that's like 10 years ago or 12, I can't remember, was Ranger, because I was trying to play in power and I hated this thing. Once I found Condition Ranger or really got into it, Ranger became my main, obviously. but this is how much I could really not enjoy some of this. So I have the same problem with it. It doesn't feel like it can really contain the fight or cleave well or hold down the enemy. Like across the year it got changed, it got better in mobs and stuff, even with Scepter, but this idea make it a little bit problematic. You feel really good in melee weapons, but you struggle a little bit in range. So that gave me a little bit of a bad feeling with this class. But other than that, it's really, really great. Like I said, it felt like the Untamed of Guardian. And you can say similar to this is the Amalgam, because how tanky it can become, it can also be, as an example, compared to the Untamed for Ranger. So, I guess I'm happy with this tier list. Remember, it's all my opinion, it's the joy I felt, so some classes maybe got it a little bit bad or unjust because I don't like or enjoy the core class to begin with, like probably those three, and it's all about the fun and how the class felt in general, not talking about the design or balance or any specifics. It just how it felt and how fun it was to play those new elite specs. So I really would love to read your own comments, your discussion, what made something specific fun, or especially what really made you enjoy something, like when you become sold on a class, or when did you hate it, something like really you hate about it or something like that. So I'll be reading all your comments. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe if you want, and I'll be seeing you next time. Peace.